Hello and welcome. My name is Gracie and today we are going to be going over how to calibrate an HR R3 probe rack. First, you need to get your rack ready for calibration. You'll want to go in with a lint-free towel and dust everything off. You'll then want to push back the covers, dust off there as well, and remove all of the attachments. Find a safe space to store these while we're running through the calibration to make sure they're not in the way and will not get damaged. Now that our rack is ready for calibration, we're going to open PC-DMIS. We're going to go to Operation, Calibrate/Edit, and select Probe Changer. This will bring up the Probe Changer dialog box where we will make all of the selections for our specific probe rack. As you can see, I have input the number of probe changers I have, which is 1. I have selected the probe changer type, and I have set the docking speed. The next part is the Communications Port tab. All of this information should be up to date and installed by the service team, so please reference the service manual if you ever need to change anything in it. The mount point is where the probe will move to and from before and after it docks or undocks from the rack. It is also where the probe will rotate after a new docking, so you want to make sure it is clear of the rack. The Ports tab shows you how many ports you have active for your rack. You can click on one of the ports and select Edit Port Data, and this is where you can change the port type as well as the clearance distances. Since I am using a 90-degree extension, I need to have that angle set to 90 degrees in port 3. So now we're going to calibrate. It's going to prompt you for the currently loaded probe, and then it's going to ask if it is free to rotate to A0, B0. Just make sure you take a look at your CMM and ensure the probe is free to do so before you hit OK. Then it's going to ask you to open all of the probe changer lids and remove all the probes from the rack. We already did that, so I'm going to hit OK, and it's going to prompt me to take a hit in the back of the circle for port 1. Make sure that you hit OK on the message before you take the hit. If you do not OK the message first, when you hit the green check mark to complete your hit, it will acknowledge the message and still prompt you to take the hit. The labeling of these ports go from left to right, so I will take this hit on the leftmost port, ensuring that it is taken in the middle of the larger circle, above and behind the key. I'm going to hit the green check mark to end that point, and now it is going to prompt me to take a hit in the back of the circle for port 4. Just like with port 1, we want to take this hit in the middle of the larger circle above and behind the key. I'm going to drive to port 4 and take the hit, pressing the green check mark when I am done. Then the CMM will take hits in all of the ports. When that is complete, it'll prompt you to take one hit on the datum sphere normal to the probe. So I'm going to drive my probe to the sphere on the rack, ensuring that my probe is centered to the sphere in both the X and Y axes before I take the hit. Once I take my hit and press the green check mark, the CMM will take hits around the sphere. When that is completed, it will prompt you to move the wrist to a clear location so it is free to rotate to the angle defined on the Mount Port tab. That is the angle the wrist needs to be at when it is dropping things off or picking things up from the rack. Here I'm moving the wrist in front of the rack, close enough to the side of the CMM where I can easily access it. And here it is, rotating to the Mount Port angle. Next, it will prompt you to close all of the probe changer lids and release the kinematic joint adapter. It also says to take one hit on the bottom of the kinematic joint with the probe changer datum sphere. You are not taking this hit with the lock that protrudes from the kinematic joint. You are going to be taking it on the flat surface, making sure that you avoid small pins and holes on the kinematic joint. As you can see, I am taking off the kinematic joint adapter right now, and I had moved the lids back on the probe changer. Once I take this hit and press the green check mark, the CMM will measure the kinematic joint pin. Now PC-DMIS is going to prompt us to please attach only the extension to be used in port 3. When you click OK, if you have a wrist, it may rotate if needed to allow for any rotation of the bottom joint. When prompted, then take one hit on the bottom of the kinematic joint with the probe changer datum sphere. Be careful to avoid the small pins and holes and take the hit on a flat surface. So we are doing the same thing we did with the kinematic joint pin, but with the extension attached. So you can see here I am attaching the kinematic joint for the extension. This is the 90-degree extension. And then I'm going to go take a hit on the datum sphere on a flat spot, not on the pin that is sticking out. And now that that has finished, I'm going to take off the 90-degree extension. PC-DMIS then tells you that all measurements are complete and that you are free to reconnect the probe used to measure the ports, and then you will click OK. Please make sure you do not over-tighten the key when you are reattaching the probe. It should be completely horizontal when you are done tightening it. If you over-tighten it, you run the risk of damaging the components. I'm also putting all of the attachments back on the rack and making sure all of the lids are closed. Now that the probe has been reattached, I can hit OK on the message, and it brings me back to the probe changer dialog box. In the probe changer dialog box, I'm going to go to the port tab. This is where I'm going to tell PC-DMIS what port to find each probe in. For the first port, that's where I want my 4x50. I don't have a sensor for port 2, so I'm going to leave that as no probe. The third port is going to be the laser extension, and the fourth port will have the laser. In addition to the laser, I need to have the laser extension specified in that port as well, so that PC-DMIS knows that it is allowed to pick up the laser with that extension. Once I'm done with that, I'll hit apply. And now that I'm fully calibrated and set up the rack, I'm free to do a probe change. Here I am switching from the 4x50 touch trigger probe to the 1010 laser. I hope this was helpful. Thank you for watching.